This is the Fantasy Football Game Plan, where we talk about fantasy football and the NFL. So at the end of last episode, we were talking a little bit about Atlanta. We were going to do NFC South today.
And good. That's the one I was preparing for. So if you would have come with something different, I would have had to been right. Yeah, I'm ready.
So the last comment was Marcus Mariota going to Atlanta. Do you think that they intend to have him be the starter there, or do you think they're going to draft a QB?
I don't know what's going on with Atlanta. Cornell Patterson is pretty much the only thing that they've signed other than Pitts, who's on a rookie contract. So, yeah, if Mariota could be the player that he's supposed to be, then I think they do have a chance. They have not too sure about their coaching staff, so I don't really know what side of the ball the head coach is on, if he's an offensive mind or defensive mind. But they did come up with some trickery. So last year, and they did use Cornell Patterson, which was a heavyweight for sure, as a draft waiver to pick up in the early weeks. So, but teams know him now. But for Mariota, it's going to be tricky. And if they do draft a quarterback, I think they have to move up. Teams have been moving quarterbacks so frequently, there must be not much confidence in the rookie quarterback class of this year. So maybe they keep him for a year. But it was a big trade for sure. And I guess Mariota must be happy that he's started. Like, he potentially could be a starter.
Yeah, well, he's being reunited with his old offensive coordinator from Tennessee, who's now the head coach of Atlanta.
Arthur Smith.
Thank you. Arthur Smith used to be the coordinator for Tennessee when he had Mariota over there. So now he's traded to get him back. Maybe Mariota will be the bridge quarterback, and they'll draft a QB, or maybe he thinks that he can make something of Mariota, but I guess we got to wait for the draft to find out.
Yeah, who knows? I won't pick Mariota in my fantasy, regardless of anything that happens. I'll probably stay away from these guys. Maybe let someone else do the clickbait on Cordell Patterson, and see if they draft him early. That'll give me a better chance of getting somebody better with a better offensive line and a better kind of just team in general. I don't see much of Falcons. I don't know what their power ranking is, what the NFL has been placing them at, but I don't see them doing much damage in this division.
But Pitts is, what would you say, top 3, top 5 tight end in the league? Kyle Pitts?
Yeah, I think he's definitely in the same as TJ Hawkinson category. Not probably tier 2, but definitely in a tier 3 level.
And this next one shouldn't take too long either. Carolina Panthers.
Oh, let's keep Christian McCaffrey healthy this year.
Yeah, I mean, we don't know, right? He's a great player when he's healthy, which is not very often. And it's been at least 2 years since we've seen him healthy. And when he's healthy, he's great. So what do you do there?
Yeah. I got a soft love for the Carolina over my last couple of years of fantasy. I do believe that their coach, and his offensive coordinator, I think they draft up some good plays. Their wide receiver core with Moore, catching a lot of the balls. He's always been a good guy for me on my teams.
Catching a lot of balls and dropping a lot of balls.
Yeah, but his catch to drop is not that bad. He still gets targeted 10 times a game, and yeah, maybe one game he might be dropping a lot. But like when he's on, right? And yeah, he does do a little bit of slumps, but he's good. And if McCaffrey's not on the field because he's injury, then Moore is your guy.
Carolina had a running back named Chuba Hubbard last year, who picked up the slack when McCaffrey was out. He's Canadian.
That's right.
Actually, he's Canadian. So we should be touting him because he's a Canadian boy.
From Edmonton,
Yeah.
I believe. I believe he's from Edmonton.
Okay, I did not know that.
Yeah.
So on Carolina, Christian McCaffrey, you want to draft him number 1, you want to draft him number 10, he's in there somewhere. We don't know, depends on his health. And then DJ Moore, and basically nobody else at this point, right? Until we see the draft.
Well, there is a sleeper. His name is Marshall Jr. that was coming out last year. And I think he's someone that you should definitely look at in the late rounds of putting onto your ticket.
Okay, and what does he do for a living? Is he a receiver or?
He's slot wide receiver.
Okay.
His name is Marshall Jr. He's in his second year.
Okay, I will note that.
But I'm hoping that Sam Darnold does something as a quarterback this year. I hope he progresses to that player he should be. I just don't know what happens with this team other than they can't hold the lead. So don't draft their defense because their defense gets scored on. But hopefully these guys can, really make an effort to compete in this division and not compete for number 4.
Fair. You can always hope. All right, let's move on to New Orleans.
Yeah, new coach. That's a big one.
Right. Well, new old coach, right? Because the coordinator got the head coach job.
That's right.
But there'll be new offensive coordination going on there. They've re-signed Jameis Winston to play quarterback for them. The big star on this team is Alvin Kamara, who I'm thinking his value is going to drop a little bit because he doesn't have Sean Payton drawing up the plays anymore.
The helm is now switched over to a defensive-minded coach. What happens to the offense?
I think probably, a little more run-oriented with Kamara, probably not catching as many balls, because what I know about Jameis Winston is that he's got a big arm and he throws the ball, he throws the hell out of it, and he throws touchdowns and he throws picks, but he throws, downfield. So I don't see him checking down to Kamara. I see him handing off. Unless they do some restructuring there, that's kind of how I think it's going to go. What do you think?
They technically have 3 quarterbacks with Taysom Hill that they've signed again this year, and then Andy Dalton. They got coming from the Bears. So really, they have a package. If Winston's not doing well, and hopefully he stays healthy this year, because he looked really promising last year, right before he got injured, and then they kind of got some problems with their QB room.
Yeah.
But having Dalton also there, it's not like he's a bad quarterback by any means. He's not probably fantasy worthy. But there's options there. But this is also that stealing thing where you pick up Jameis, and then he'll takes all the glory when it's in the red zone, right? Are they still going to kind of run that kind of package?
They're saying that Taysom Hill's going to be primarily a tight end, which is interesting because it gives them 2 good tight ends. They've got Adam Troutman there, who was a rookie last year, and he looked promising till he got hurt. Then you got Taysom Hill, and you can do all your gadget stuff with Taysom Hill, but we now know that Jameis Winston is the outright starter, and as long as he doesn't get hurt, they're riding with him. It's funny that we haven't talked at all about Michael Thomas, who 3 years ago was the best receiver in the league, or at least top 2 or 3. And he's still on the roster, hasn't been healthy or happy in years, and nobody really knows what his value is right
now. Yeah. I don't know what to say about Michael Thompson. I think wait till, middle of camp, maybe week 3 or 4 to see if he comes into any rotations in those preseason games. But if he's a healthy scratch or a healthy sit or just another healthy bench guy that doesn't ever make the field, very interesting, because that guy should be on a team. The other receiver that they have, which I thought was a good guy to pick up late, maybe on waivers into the season, was Galloway. But he really didn't get much going at all because of the quarterbacks. There was no consistency in quarterbacks, right?
Right. Callaway did flash brilliance at times last year and filled in as the number one when Thomas wasn't available, which was pretty much most of the year or all of the year.
The whole year, yeah.
Yeah. So he's a flashy player, and maybe that's, I mean, surprisingly, we've listed a lot of guys that are pretty good here. We just don't know, how high up any of these guys can go. The top ranked player on their team, I mean, Kamara will be a top 10 running back. You figure he falls around number 10, or where would you put him?
Kamara would probably, I don't know, like between at least 3 and, yeah, I don't think anything less than 3. I think if I had a third spot, I'd pick him up, no problem.
Okay. So you like Kamara better than Fournette or Dalvin Cook?
Yeah, but those guys are like 1 and 2, right?
Well, you got Derrick Henry and Austin Eckler, and you've got the guy in Indianapolis, Taylor. I think everybody's going with him as 1. So, but anyways, so we're agreed that Alvin Kamara is amongst the top running backs, and then there's the rest of it is murky in New Orleans.
Yeah, so if you had within like the 5, you just listed the 5 great players, they will all do really well. Their points would be very marginal unless they get injured. Where they played the whole season, all those guys you've just mentioned would be great number 1 to 5 picks. It's just how you pick number in your second round and all the way through, like if you're in the top 6 picks, yeah, pick the best running back on the board, right? And Kamara is one of the best running backs on the board.
Okay.
And then deep down, do your strategy and pick up Ingram, because Ingram's going to get some balls handed to him as well too, right? Mm-hmm. But like pick him up a little bit later, you don't have to go and there's other players out there before Ingram, that's for sure.
Right, if you're adding depth to your team and handcuffing. Okay, well, we just talked about Fournette a little bit, so let's move on to Tampa Bay, the last team in this division.
Yeah, another head coach change.
Yeah, but you're seeing the consistency. You've still got Leftwich as the coordinator working with Brady, so we know what that looks like. It looks pretty good.
Yeah, and then they picked up the Jets' old head coach, Bowles. Oh, that's interesting.
Well, Bowles has been their D coordinator for the last few years. So I think that the head coach stepping aside, knowing one of those 2 guys, either Leftwich or Bowles, was going to get the head coaching job. Succession was the plan there.
Yeah, but it's not like Arian Bruce is moving anywhere far away. It's probably an age thing there. He's just like he wants to sit down for the whole duration of a football game and stand.
Yeah, rest his torn Achilles. Poor guy. Okay, so we like Fournette as a draftable player on this team, and then I guess the next primary target on this team probably would be Mike Evans. He's been consistently a 1,000-yard guy. So
would you pick Evans over Godwin?
Yes, because Godwin got injured very late in the season last year, and they've gone out and got Russell Gage from Atlanta. And I think the reason why they did that is because they know that at some point Godwin will be able to play, but probably not right off the hop. So they're going to need somebody to fill that spot. We don't need to talk about Antonio Brown. He is gone. So Gage coming in makes it a little murky for Godwin, I feel like. But Evans is the number 1 target. He's there. We still have Gronk. He's a free agent, but I don't think he'd play for anybody else other than Uncle Tom. So I think he'll be back, but really Evans is the top target there after Fournette, I think.
Well, their receiving core there with Gage being added and Godwin and Evans, like that's really strong. So I think catching any of those 3 would be great. Like if you have a late round, first round pick, Evans is definitely someone I think to target in that first round.
Yeah.
And if you're coming down the ladder too, Godwin is also on the board too. I would pick those guys up as one of the top receivers, definitely in the top 10, even going down probably to the top 5. as just being catch percentage, considering that Tom Brady has rejoined the NFL. Yeah, and I agree with you too with Fournette. With Tom Brady back there too, he was clutch player for them last year, catching so many dump offs. The biggest bandwagon fans of of the NFL, right? They were nothing until 2 years ago, and now everybody seems to be loving them.
It's just because Brady's my fantasy QB, so I'll follow him wherever he goes because he's done me proud for years.
Yeah.
So
I picked him up last year too, and did that double up with Evans. I got a lot of points.
Yeah,
from Brady, and if I can get Brady again this year, I definitely will. It was just an opportunity that he was still on the board. I think at like 5th round or 4th round, I got him. I was like, yeah for sure.
Yeah. Just one thing of note, they re-signed Geo Bernard recently, which I thought might cut into Fournette's time a little bit because Fournette got hurt last year, and Geo is a great blitz pickup pass blocker, and he's a great catching out of the backfield type of back. So I'm thinking playoff Lenny probably is going to be more of a first and second down back, and they're going to have to bring in Geo Bernard on third downs quite a bit, I think.
Yeah, but Geo Bernard is not someone you're going to go after, right? He's somebody that you should pick up into the mid rounds.
Yeah.
Right. Because he could even still be on some leagues if you're playing only in a 10-person league or a 8-person league. He could still be on waiver wires. Right.
True.
So
especially with Keyshawn Vaughn flashing last year, and I think they're going to get him to play the Rojo role, the Ronald Jones role, because he's been traded or let go, and he's with Kansas City now. So I think the backfield is a little unclear after Fournette, but Fournette's definitely a top 10 back.
Yeah. And their defense is something to chalk up too, right? Just keep their defense up there. They did lose a little bit of players up front, but for the most part, they still have that Devin White guy who causes a lot of problems.
Yeah, they've got a lot of good players still. Levante David still there, and the edge rushers are still there. I don't know if JPP's coming back, but most of their defense is intact. I think Sue is a free agent, but he'll probably re-sign, I'm thinking. And yeah, their defense was great. I had them for fantasy last year, and they were solid.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's the NFC South. We did it. And what do you want to do next time?
Well, we're going to stay in the NFC, so let's go East.
Okay.
Then we're ending with the West.
All right. NFC
East next week.
Okay. Sounds great. Thanks very much.
Awesome. Have a great rest of your day.
Yeah, you too.
Okay. Bye-bye.
All right. See you next time. Bye. Thanks for watching the Fantasy Football Game Plan podcast. Need coaching on your lineup? Drop us a line and we'll discuss your dilemma.